Welcome here. Yeah, welcome here today, Eimear. I think both of us were at WAF this year. We had a really good time. And the purpose really of this particular recording is to talk about the real insights that we found in Lisbon at the World Aviation Festival this year. Listen, over to you, Eimear. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Great to be here, John. I want to kick off with a question around the kind of digital crossroads we're at right now. Why do you think the aviation industry is at this digital crossroads?
Yeah, and I hate to use those two little letters AI, but I'm going to use them anyway. But there's a massive push towards AI at the moment. Automation, digital innovation, most organizations are all hindered essentially by fragmented data and inconsistent data. And that's the big issues here we're seeing. Successful cases from WAF repeatedly point to the same foundation: clean data, targeted AI, and disciplined cloud strategy, and smaller use cases in relation to AI. And the entire industry needs to move in this particular direction. If you've got those three things, it is ground for success.
Okay, there's quite a lot there. So what do you think was the biggest lesson from WAF regarding AI and aviation specifically?
Yeah, it's all around clear focus on business aligned use cases, right? It has to be around that. And the AI hype itself it isn't producing results, Emer. Okay, and that was one big thing: is get a specific set of use cases that are achievable, and then roll them out on a pilot fashion, and then try and bring them into production at a later stage. Another one is also around digital sovereignty. That really came up over and over again. And in an increasingly connected world, this digital infrastructure and digital sovereignty for Europe seems to be really coming to the top of everyone's priority list. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that later on as well.
Sounds good.
Okay. Um, I know you had a lot of really good conversations at WAF too, Emer, and I'm going to start quizzing you a little bit around what was your insight specifically around those AI announcements as well. So, why is data quality such a critical barrier for AI in aviation?
Yeah, I think it's a big one. AI, or aviation in general, generates huge amounts of data. So there is a massive opportunity here for AI, but the data tends to be siloed. Inconsistent and sometimes it's incomplete. And if we were to train AI models on poor data, we know it's going to produce unreliable predictions. That's got the potential to do more damage than good, really, and it can damage trust. It can delay adoption and it can create operational risk if you're not careful. So without high quality data, even the best AI frameworks can fail.
Yeah, and can we get into some details around that, Emer? So,
Yeah.
what examples could you give us that could pinpoint to trying to avoid those failures?
Well, if you think of something like predictive maintenance, I think that's a common example of where data can go wrong if you're not careful. So if your sensor data is missing, if the data is noisy, if it's inconsistent, it could even be inconsistent across different aircraft types. So the model then is working with incomplete data and it can generate false positives, which means it can sometimes miss early warning signs. And if the model's not working well from the get-go, then you can have distrust from engineers, from operations teams, and then you just start to lose credibility. So you're better to get your data right up front before you push these programs.
Yeah, and the knock-on effect there with the C-suite would be fairly damaging, and that probably brings me back to the subject around data governance and why is it now a C-suite priority?
Well, I think because with AI, we now have the power to do so much more with data. It can be
Mhm.
used for measurable value. It's not just an IT concern anymore. It
Yeah.
can directly impact safety, operational reliability, customer experience, and even
Hmm.
financial outcomes if it's not governed correctly. I think that executives now understand that without governance for this, without lineage, without standards, we just won't get the business benefits from AI.
Yeah, and I think this ties back in, Emer, as well to the whole data governance side of things, specifically in Europe, around how do we ensure that not only is that data governed correctly and that we can trace lineage, the whole works, but how do we ensure that that data is kept in a European system or a Middle East system is more the conversations that I was having when I was in Lisbon as well. So Probably pillar two on our insights as well, Eimear. We were talking about targeted AI adoption. And one big question, and I know it was asked of you several times, was why does aviation struggle with scaling AI pilots to production?
Yeah, I think it's a really new technology. And I think a lot of projects start as experiments to see
Yeah,
how they work, but they don't necessarily have alignment to business outcomes. And if you don't define your ROI up front,
yeah.
then operational owners, change management strategies, pilots, they never transition into live environments. There's no focus there. It's not the technology that we've got a problem with, it's the actual lack of business focus that can be the biggest barrier.
How do we get over that, right? How do we challenge that?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it already, starting small. So choosing
Yeah,
at first, choosing small, high impact use cases that you can align directly with measurable business goals.
yeah,
And I think when business value is the driver, not the technology, you'll
yeah.
get a lot further. So if you can look at things like improving crew scheduling efficiency,
Mm,
reducing your delays, optimizing energy usage, so real business cases, they can be
yeah.
targeted initiatives that can build momentum, build trust. And from there, then you've got a springboard to broader adoption and bigger projects.
Yeah, and there's one of our customers as well at the moment that are associating a financial saving or a revenue generation target associated to these particular pilots. So from the word go, they're basically saying, okay, here is a concept for a use case. What is the financial ramification of this? So from the word go, you're actually building in how much money you're going to save or generate by this AI use case being adopted. So it focuses people's minds on the business alignment side of things. So,
Makes sense.
um, eh, killer app. Okay, we both had this one when we were on stage in Lisbon, right? What's the
Yeah.
danger of chasing the killer app?
I think there's a perception out there that AI is like this magical solution, which it's not. There's no single magic AI solution. Aviation is complex and it requires a lot of interconnected use cases.
Yeah.
And you need to build those use cases up over time, and each one needs to drive business value. If you're
Yeah.
searching for a silver bullet, then you can often just get wasted investment and really end in disappointment. Going back to what we talked about earlier, you need measurable ROI. It's
Mhm.
not a magic bullet.
Yeah, no, perfect. Um, Now, another one came up around strategic priorities for sustainability and customer experience. What's your opinion on that?
So, yeah, sustainability, we all have goals in sustainability. So, going back to the business goals, start
Hmm.
with sustainability and
Yeah.
then think about what exactly you can do to drive efficiencies there. So, something like fuel burn optimization, ground power usage analytics.
Mm,
There's your use case. Now, see how AI can help. In terms of
yeah.
customer experience, you could block it off into passenger experience, and then you can look at personalized disruption management potentially.
Yeah.
Or you can go, let's look at the bucket of operational efficiency and break that down into gate flow prediction, maybe dynamic staffing, and look at how AI can help. And I think this really ensures that your AI solutions are directly supporting top line goals and efficiency goals
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. No, perfect. And we've touched upon pillar one already, which was that data quality and the fuel for AI. Pillar two was that targeted AI adoption. And the last pillar that we both saw when we were over there was very much around cloud discipline, Emer.
Yeah, and I was curious as to your thoughts on this one, John. Why do you think cloud adoption accelerated so quickly post pandemic?
Yeah. And I was part of this because I was on the other side, as in I was the customer consuming hypervisor services, and there was that panic to rush to remote work. And what that did was it accelerated the use of all cloud technologies, but it's left behind a significant technical debt, right? And that
Okay.
technical debt is all around fragmented architectures, rising costs, because it was a case of just get it done, and inconsistent governance across business units. All that stuff now needs to be revisited, cleaned up, and moved on.
Okay. Okay, so what's the risk then? So if you do migrate to the cloud without this discipline,
Yeah.
what risks are you encountering?
Yeah, and again, this was from painful experience, ballooning costs. Okay, so if it's a case of you just needed to get remote services up and running, And in my particular case here, it was a lot of IT staff that needed to get up and running remotely. They were drawing Amazon services down without any threshold budgeting in place. So you could have 50 developers all drawing down services at the one time, all new EC2 instances, all AWS services, API gateways, the whole works, with no joined up thinking in relation to that. Siloed IT, right? We can't get stuff fast enough out of the IT department. So I tell you what, let's build our own data lake. Okay. And all of a sudden, you've got a separate data lake that's outside of a single source of truth. A lot of companies now are seeing that and having to go back and actually find out around that shadow IT platforms, or go in and actually start closing down permissions. And I picked on developers earlier, but it could be anybody. It could be testers, it could be project managers as well, and putting budget thresholds on their consumption of services to get it under control.
Okay. So if you were to get it right from the get-go, what would you do? Like, what does a disciplined cloud strategy look like?
Yeah, no, and this all comes back to well-architected frameworks, right? Again, this is a bit of our bread and butter within Amach itself, is that we spend a significant amount of our time either doing this right from the word go, okay, but that's in a few scenarios, or remediating this particular
Okay.
scenario and saying, okay, well, now we need to go back and do a well-architected view. You're doing workload resizing, data sovereignty controls, alignment with sustainability and regulatory and governance based standards. But it also means continually optimizing it. So it's not a one and done, right? You've
Okay.
got to go in, put the actual architectures in place to be able to ensure that the bleed stops. Okay. But then you need to have ongoing optimization to ensure that that stuff that you've put in place, is it right or wrong? And do we need to tweak it a bit more? So it's not a one and done, it's a constant improvement process to ensure that the company gets the right value of any hypervisor services.
That makes a lot of sense. So maybe bring it to life for us a little bit. What does a successful aviation cloud transformation look like versus an unsuccessful one?
Yeah, so a success like time, okay, is the first one. So if you want to do a successful one, you need to plan it out over anything between 6 to 18 months. Okay, and that's just the design. That's ensuring that you completely understand the current operating model that you have today, right? You map out the target operating model of how you want your cloud to be tomorrow, and then a roadmap to get you there, right? So we've done migrations for companies anything between 100 applications, 18 months, to 1,800 applications, 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Okay, that's the
Wow.
sort of level. Now, that's if you're going to do it right in relation to a successful time. Not
Yeah.
all companies are able to do that. They may be getting under pressure to get out of a data center. If they
Right.
get pressure to get out of a data center, unfortunately, it's we call a lift and shift,
Yeah.
not a lift and thrive scenario.
Okay.
So lift
Yeah.
and shift are the ones where they do get it out of the actual data center into the cloud, but guess what? The business case for cost decreases doesn't manifest itself. In fact, it gets
Okay.
worse, right? Because you're taking all of those particular licenses, those particular machines, those particular CPUs, and just dumping it across. And what happens is those costs go through the roof.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Hard to get it
Okay.
right.
It is, but I think as we move forward within the aviation industry, there is an opportunity here to do scenario one, get it right first time,
Okay.
because they are coming from such legacy platforms
Yeah.
that they have an opportunity to jump from what I like to say 2009 to 2025, okay,
Makes
in one
sense.
go without having to go through that messy middle period. Okay.
Yep.
Listen, we're going to go back now, I suppose, to some of the questions that were being asked of us on the stand as well. And there's a few of them here in relation to this one, and very much around how do you ensure data quality doesn't become a hidden barrier to AI progress?
Yeah, we've talked a little bit already about how the data needs to become a C-level priority now.
Yeah.
And data governance needs to be a strategic initiative, really.
Yeah.
So you need to invest in quality tooling, you need to embed accountability. That's really important at the business unit level.
Hmm.
You need to make the data quality visible in some way, whether that's through dashboards or however you want to do it. And it
Hmm.
needs to be treated as a shared responsibility across the business and not just an IT afterthought, like a cost center. It really is a strategic driver of business now.
Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks here, Eimear. What
Yeah.
are the AI use cases you've seen recently in the aviation?
I see lots of different use cases. At Amach, we've been working with airlines, starting with AI across the software development life cycle,
Mhm.
from requirements gathering through to development and testing. It is a proven, relatively low cost investment that has been shown to speed up software delivery significantly across many industries. And a really sweet spot for airlines is around software modernization.
Yeah.
AI augmentation can really help with modernization of legacy systems. Really, that was something that was prohibitive
Mhm.
until now. So that's a really nice early, low risk, pretty small use case that we see a lot of airlines starting with.
Yeah. Okay.
So for you, John, how do you balance cloud agility with governance and cost control?
Yeah, and again, we're talking to some procurement people across multiple airlines at the moment. Governance models, that's what they're talking about here to us, is that they want to implement governance models across their cloud deployment. They want to automate that cost monitoring, and it's that budget thresholding that we've talked
Mhm.
about as well.
Yeah.
And from an IT point of view, architectural standards need to be enforced as well. Okay, so they're the big
Yeah.
three things. So agility and governance aren't opposites; they can complement each other. Okay, that's what
Okay.
we hear pushback sometimes from IT and from the regulatory people as well.
That makes sense.
Okay. We're going to wrap this up, right? So we're going to have one more question, and we're going to leave it to you. Where do you see the biggest trust risks in aviation digital evolution?
I think the biggest risks are if you've got biased or potentially unreliable AI outputs, if you've got systems that lack explainability,
Yeah.
or architectures that compromise your data sovereignty. So there's a big opportunity here, right? Make sure you've got transparent AI, your strong
Mm.
data foundations, strategies that prioritize resilience, passenger trust, human in the loop to make sure there's always accountability
Yeah.
for any AI outputs, making sure there's no bias or anything unreliable in there.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. Listen, that's going to wrap up this particular recording. Our next recording will be in Q1 next year, and it will be on data sovereignty. I'm just left here to say, Emer, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.